Hey guys, quick question for you today. We've seen a lot with the Trump administration's announcements about tariffs on China that one of their demands is they want the Chinese economy to be restructured more towards consumption and less towards exports. And my question really is, why don't they do this, right? It seems like it'd be in their interest to have more domestic consumption happen. Typically, the response here is, well, in the media, you'll see people say, well, Chinese people have a higher savings rate. They're more inclined to pump money into their savings because of typically what's said is there's sort of a cultural, historic reason for this, right? China has a lot of political unrest, social unrest in its history, and that's what drives these high savings rates. And while that's partially true, I think it ignores what's really happening, which is that there's a phenomenon in China called financial repression. This is a well documented sort of thing in the literature that basically demonstrates that Chinese people get a much lower rate of return. Their rate of interest on their deposits and their savings is lower than you would expect. And the reason it's lower than you would expect is because that money is funneled to other uses, state-owned enterprises and banks by the central government. So because of this, Chinese people have to save a lot more than you would expect them to need to save in a more open economy. The reason this the reason this happens is the Chinese political economic model is really driven by this partially centrally planned political economy as moderated, as controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, right? So to move away from this kind of strategy would really negate a lot of the strength of the party, and there's a lot of reticence to doing this change, both within the party and within the banks themselves, and obviously within the state-owned enterprises. So while this is going to be a demand of the Trump administration, this is going to be a really hard thing to implement in practice because there's all these incredibly powerful interests within the People's Republic of China to keep things the way that they are. And I think this is part of why the trade war and the demands from the Trump tariffs kind of will continue to sort of go unheard, go unlistened to in the People's Republic of China. As this moves forward, right, it sort of starts to lend itself to if the Chinese government could actually ever institute this change while maintaining political control, which is a big if, that would actually put China in a much stronger place. But this sort of starts to go into why it's not just sort of their interests or the Chinese Communist Party's interests that we're fighting here. It's also sort of these entrenched paradigms, these power paradigms that may not even benefit the Chinese people or the Chinese state overall. It might be sort of down to this conditional who wins and who loses, as we see with financial repression within China. Thanks, and curious for your thoughts down below.